Hey, third graders, welcome to week 4. Can you believe we've been doing this for a month? Isn't that crazy? So, we're going to finish up this unit on two-step word problems. And then we're going to start our next unit will be all about geometry. So we'll be learning about shapes and area and perimeter, and I'm really excited. It should be really fun. And then we actually, after this week, we only have 3 weeks more. Isn't that crazy? Then school will be out for the summer. So, I am going to change the format of your math lessons starting not this week, but next week. So for week 5, 6, and 7, where the first 2 lessons of the week will be on geometry, but then the third lesson will be called WIN time, and WIN stands for what I need. So I'm going to differentiate it where you guys will each get kind of your own lesson of things that you need to work on before you become a 4th grader. Does that make sense? So next week starting, you'll have 2 geometry lessons, and then your third lesson will be something that I pick just for you, okay? So just so you know that it will look a little bit different after this week. This week, we're going to do two-step word problems, and then your next 2 lessons will be starting our geometry, and then the next following week is when we'll start the WIN time. Okay, so let's get started. These are two-step word problems. So our goal for today is I can solve word problems requiring 2 steps. Here is our first one. So we're going to break them apart, and we're always looking for keywords in our word problem to help us know if we're adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. But we also need to always look at what do we need to find out first. All right, so let's look at the first one. The Loveland City bus had 14 passengers. When the bus stopped, 5 people got off and 8 people got on. How many people are on the bus now? Okay, so we started with 14, 5 people got off, and 8 people got on. So you need to be thinking to yourself, okay, am I adding, am I subtracting, am I multiplying, or am I dividing? Okay, if 5 people got off, what operation do you think we would be doing there? We're subtracting, right? Because we started with 14 and then we're getting rid of or subtracting 5 of them. So I'm going to start with my 14 passengers and I'm going to subtract the 5 that got off, okay? And if you remember from last time, now this one you don't necessarily have to do it, but we talked about using parentheses to show do this part first, okay? With this word problem, you can do it in a couple different orders, but let's just, so we practice doing that, we're going to put parentheses around this part to say do this part first. So 14 minus 5 is 9, right? Okay, so 14 minus 5 is 9. And then 8 people got on the bus. So ask yourself, are we adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing those 8 people? We're adding 8 more people got on the bus. Okay, so 14 people were on the bus, 5 got off, so we subtracted them, and we had 9. And then 8 people got on, so 9 plus 8 equals 17. Okay, so 17 people are now on the bus. There's a couple different ways you could have solved this problem. You could have said, well, 5 people got off and 8 people got on. 8 minus 5 is 3, so that just means they gained only 3 more people, and 3 plus 17, or 14 is 17. That's another way to think of it. I know some of you probably went that way, but this is just another way to do it. There's a lot of different ways to solve this problem. All right, let's look at another one. There are 15 fish in a fish tank. 12 are goldfish, and the rest are angelfish. Now, here's the second part of the question. How many more goldfish are there than angelfish? Okay, so we need to ask ourselves, what do I need to find first before I can figure out how many more goldfish there are than angelfish? I need to know how many angelfish there are, right? I don't even know how many angelfish there are. So there's 15 fish in the tank, 12 are goldfish, and the rest are angelfish. So if we drew as like a math mountain, we could do that. 15 fish in all, 12 of them are goldfish, and the rest of them are angelfish. I'm going to put an A for angelfish, okay? If I know my total, but I'm missing one of my addends, how can I find out how many, or how can I find that addend? I have to subtract, right? So 15 minus one addend will give me the other addend. 15 minus 12, 5 minus 2 is 3, And 1 minus 1 is nothing, so we don't need to write anything there. So there are 3 angelfish. But that's not what it asked. It didn't say how many angelfish are there. That's one thing that you guys really need to make sure to pay attention to when you do your Google form is what is the question actually asking? A lot of you just kind of assume what it is and then you get the question wrong. Make sure you actually pay attention to what it's asking. It's asking how many more goldfish are there than angelfish. Well, here's our goldfish. There's 12 goldfish and 3 angelfish. How many more goldfish are there than angelfish? Now, we could use a couple strategies. Here's one way we could do it. We could say, okay, here's my goldfish. I'll make them gold. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And here's my angelfish. 1, 2, 3. How many more goldfish are there than angelfish? Well, if I match them up, I can see what's left over, right? Do you guys remember doing this strategy? Let's see how many are left over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 more goldfish than angelfish. Another way you could have done that is you could have just subtracted. And whenever a word problem asks how many more or how many less, then we're subtracting, right? We talked about that in class a lot before you guys left. So 12 minus those 3 angelfish, so get rid of those 3 angelfish to see how many more goldfish there are than angelfish, and 12 minus 3 is 9. Okay, let's look at another one. Zoe picked 14 apricots. Avery picked 5 less apricots than Zoe, but here's the tricky part. You got to pay attention to what it's asking. How many apricots did they pick all together? Okay, so ask yourself, what do I need to figure out first? If Zoe picked 14 and Avery picked 5 less apricots than Zoe, we need to figure out how many Avery did, right? Before we can figure out how many they did all together, okay? It didn't say that Avery just picked 5 apricots. She picked 5 less apricots than Zoe. So if you wanted to, you could draw comparison bars for this one. Okay, so we drew our comparison bars. We got to decide who has the most. Zoe picked 14. Avery picked 5 less than Zoe. Okay, so Zoe did more, right? If Avery picked less, then Avery would be by the smaller bar, and Zoe would be by the bigger bar. Then I fill in what I know. Zoe picked 14. I don't know how many Avery picked, but I know it was 5 less than Zoe. Okay, and remember we could think of this too as like a math mountain. 14. Okay, what plus 5 will give me 14? 9, right? So Avery picked 9. So what we just did is we said 14 minus 5. That was the first part of our equation, so I'm going to put it in parentheses. Okay, and we figured out that Avery picked 9. Okay, and then it asks how many apricots they picked in all. Okay, so if I know that Avery picked 9 and Zoe picked 14, how am I going to figure out how many they picked all together? I add them, right? I have to add Zoe's and I have to add Avery's. So Avery picked 9, Zoe picked 14. So I already have my 9 here. I'm going to add then what Zoe picked. Now this looks a little tricky or confusing. If you think about it though, this first part of the equation, we were figuring out how many Zoe picked. Avery picked. Oh my goodness. How many Avery picked by subtracting, because Avery did 5 less than Zoe. So here's how many Avery picked, and then we're going to add it to how many Zoe picked to find the total. Okay? So let's find the total. 14 plus 9. 9 plus 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Carry my new 10 over. 1 10 plus another 10 is 2 10s, or 23. Okay, this one was a little bit trickier, and I think I have another one in this lesson that's like it. If you just think about it, this was to figure out how many Avery picked, and then we had to add how many Zoe picked to find the total. Okay? All right, let's look at another one. There are 5 mice 3 gerbils, and some hamsters in a cage. There are 15 animals in all in the cage. How many of them are hamsters, or how many hamsters are there? Okay, so if we think about it, I'm a visual person, so I like to draw a picture. If I know this 15 is my total, and I know there's 5 mice, okay, 3 gerbils, and then some hamsters, right? I'll put a question mark for hamsters. I need to figure out how many is the total, or how many hamsters there are if 15 is the total. Well, first I need to figure out how many animals in all are there that aren't hamsters, okay? So I'm going to add the mice and the gerbils together. So 5 mice plus 3 gerbils will tell me, and I'm going to put parentheses around it, it's the first part I did, will tell me how many animals there are in the cage that aren't hamsters, okay? 5 plus 3 is 8, okay? After I figured out how many are not hamsters, now I'm going to take the total and I'm going to subtract those ones away to figure out how many are left that are hamsters. So I'm actually going to write my 15 over here. 15 minus the I can't talk. The mice plus the gerbils will give me the hamsters. Now this is kind of confusing because you want to do 5 plus 3 because we did it first, and then you want to minus 15 from it, right? Because we're taking 15 minus. But if you do it this way, you're doing 8 minus 15. Can we do that? No, we'd get a negative number. Can you have a negative amount of hamsters? No. So we have to put the 15 minus in the front, okay? Total amount of animals minus the mice and the gerbils equals the hamsters, okay? And so 15 minus 8 equals 7. 7 hamsters. There's another way you could think about this, and I'm going to do that one too. Another way you could do this is you could do 15 animals total minus the mice. Oops, 5 mice minus the gerbils will tell you how many are left that are hamsters. That's an easier way to look at that one too. So 15 animals minus 5 mice, that's 10, right? And then 10 minus 3 equals 7. So we still get the same answer. This one's an easier way to look at it, okay? The previous one, if that confused you, that's okay. I'm just showing you different ways to do the same problem. But if you had 15 mice minus the 15 animals minus the 5 mice minus the 3 gerbils will give you how many hamsters there are. We got to go to the next problem. I need a brain break. Oh, yay, perfect timing. Okay, so brain break. I'm going to read off 5 different facts. Some of them are real and some of them are fake. So maybe if you have your piece of paper next to you that you should have for math, maybe in the corner just write 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then I want you to write an R for real if you think it's real, or an F for fake if you think it's fake. Okay, so I'm going to read it, and you tell me if it's real or fake, and then I'll tell the answers at the end, okay? Number 1, a crocodile cannot stick its tongue out. Do you think that's real, or do you think that's a fake fact? Number 2, cats will sink in quicksand, but dogs won't. Do you think that's real, or do you think that's fake? Number 3, butterflies taste with their feet. Do you think that's real, or do you think that's fake? And number 4, snails have 14,000 teeth. Do you think that's real, or do you think that's fake? And number 5, honeybees can live for 20 years. Do you think that's real, or do you think that's fake? Okay, so hopefully you have a letter for each one if you think it's real or if you think it's fake written down on your paper. And now I'm going to go through the real, if they are real or fake. A crocodile cannot stick its tongue out. That is real. A crocodile cannot stick its tongue out. That's kind of cool, right? Cats will sink in quicksand, but dogs won't. That is fake. Miss Cook just made that up in her head. That's not real, okay? Butterflies taste with their feet. That is real. That is a true fact. Snails have 14,000 feet. That is actually real. Isn't that crazy? I had to look it up again just to make sure it was right. Pretty cool. I'm sure they're tiny, right? And then number 5, honeybees can live for 20 years. That is fake. I made that one up. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and stretch or take a break if you need to. If not, we're going to move on to the next part of the lesson. All right, so let's keep practicing. Angelique was putting beads on a string. She had 54 beads on a string and then took 29 beads off. Then she put 5 more on. How many beads are on the string now? Pause the video and try it yourself. Okay, so I want you to pause and ask yourself, what do I need to find first? Put parentheses around it, right? And then do the second part of the lesson. Go ahead and pause it and then push play when you're ready to find out how to do it. Go. All right, so let's start. She had 54 beads on a string and then she took 29 off. Then she put 5 more on. So to start, she had 54 beads, right? If she took 29 off, I will be subtracting, right? I'm getting rid of those 29 beads. So I'm going to subtract the 29 beads. Okay? I'm putting parentheses around it just because I did that first. With this problem, it really doesn't matter, but we'll talk about that later. But 54 minus 29, okay? Then she put 5 more on. If she's putting 5 more back on, what are we doing? We're adding, right? We got to add 5 more back onto the string to figure out the total. Okay, so here is our equation, and let's go ahead and find the answer. So 54 minus 29. 4 minus 9, can't do it, don't have enough ones, so I got to go borrow from my tens or ungroup my tens. Now I have 4 tens, so I'm going to bring 10 ones over here, 14 ones. 14 minus 9 is 5, and 4 tens minus 2 tens is 2 tens. So Angelique has 25 beads, and then she adds 5 more on. Okay, so now she has 30 beads. 25 plus 5 more is 30. Good. Let's do another one. The 3rd grade class was collecting cans for the food drive. They collected 232 cans on Monday and 157 cans on Tuesday. Then they collected 98 cans on Wednesday. How many cans did they collect on all 3 days? Pause the video, see if you can find the answer yourself. Go. All right, so let's look at it. They did 232 on Monday, 157 on Tuesday, and 98 on Wednesday. And the question asks, how many cans did they collect on all 3 days? Okay, so we are adding all 3 groups together, right? We're going to add the Monday cans, the Tuesday cans, and the Wednesday cans all together. If it would have asked how many more did they do on Monday than on Tuesday, then we'd be subtracting. But that's not what it asked. It asked how many did they collect in all. So I'm going to do 232 plus 157. So Monday cans plus Tuesday cans plus Wednesday cans. 98. Now you're probably wondering, Miss Cook, why didn't you put parentheses around this one? For this one, we're just adding, and remember we talked a lot about in class, does it matter which order you add things in? No. So since we're adding for both parts, we don't need to put parentheses around it because you could add 98 to 232 and then 157. You could add them in whatever order you want. You'll get the same exact answer. That's the cool thing about adding, okay? So it helps me. I need to stack these on top of each other, okay? So I'm going to do 232 plus 157 first. And some of you want to maybe add all 3 at the same time. That's okay. If you found your answer that way, that's fine. But some of you maybe aren't quite there yet, so we'll just do one at a time. 232 plus 157. 7 plus 2 is 9. 30 plus 50 is 80. And 200 plus 100 is 300. Am I done? No, I can't forget to add on the Wednesday cans too. So now I have 389 from Monday and Tuesday together, and then I got to add on Wednesday's cans too. 98. Okay, 9 plus 8 is 17, so I got to carry my new 10 over into the tens place. I'm going to do 90 plus 10, I know, is 100. 100 plus 80 is 180. So I have 80 in the tens place, but then I got to carry my 100 over to my hundreds place. 300 plus 100 is 400. Okay, so you should have gotten 487 cans. All right, let's go to the next one. Senora Perez bought 6 packages of paper cups. There were 9 paper cups in each package. She used 47 of them. how many cups does she have left over? So this is a little different than the ones we've tried. I want you to pause the video and just try it on your own, see if you can find the answer, and then go ahead and push play when you're ready to solve it with me. Go ahead and go. Okay, so hopefully you got an answer. She has 6 packages of paper cups. If I want to draw a picture of it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 packages, and each one has 9 paper cups in each package. 9. Okay. How will I figure out how many paper cups? The first thing I need to do is figure out how many paper cups she has in all, right? Before I can take away those 47 that she used. So I need to figure out, how can I quickly figure out how many cans? Well, I could go 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9, but we know a faster way, right, in 3rd grade? What can I do? I have to multiply them, right? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups of 9. I'm going to put parentheses around it saying, hey, do this first. 6 groups of 9, and then she used 47 of those cups. If she used them, she got rid of them, right? We're subtracting the 47 that she used, and we need to figure out how many she has left over, okay? So let's solve it. We're doing parentheses first. 6 times 9 is, hopefully you know this off the top of your head, but if you don't, go ahead and do your 9s trick. 54. 54 minus the 47 cups she used will tell us the total. And I'm going to stack them on top of each other so it makes it a little easier. Okay, 4 minus 7. Can't do it, so I got to go borrow. 5 tens becomes 4 tens, and I move 1 10 over here. 14 minus 7 is 7. And then 4 tens minus 4 tens is 0 tens. So she only has 7 cups left over. There's our answer. Okay? So hopefully you got that too. All right, here's our last one. During 1 week, Nicholas rode his bike 42 miles, and Landon rode his bike 9 miles fewer than Nicholas. How many miles did they ride all together? So it's not asking how many Nicholas did. It's asking how many how many Landon did. It's asking how many did they do all together. So ask yourself, if I want to find out how many they did all together, what do I need to find out first? And then how can I find out all together? Go ahead and pause the video and try it on your own. Okay, so since this one's kind of a comparison run, right? It says Landon rode his bike 9 miles fewer. I could draw comparison bars. Because the first thing I want to find out is what? I want to figure out how many Landon rode, right? I know how many Nicholas did, but I don't know how many Landon did. And right, because we want to add Nicholas's miles plus Landon's miles to get the all together, to get the total. I'm going to write a T for total, okay? So I first need to figure out how many Landon did. Here are my comparison bars. Okay, I need to figure out first who did most. Nicholas rode his bike 42 miles, and Landon rode his bike 9 miles fewer than Nicholas. So I know that Landon did less because he did fewer, and Nicholas did more. Okay, now I'm going to fill in what I know. Nicholas did 42 miles. I don't know how many Landon did, and the difference between the two is 9 miles. Okay, how can I figure out how many Landon did? I need to subtract, right? I need to take 42 miles that Nicholas did minus the 9, that's the difference, will tell me how many Landon did. Okay, so right here in this parentheses will tell me how many miles Landon rode his bike. 42 minus 9, I'm going to stack them on top of each other to make it a little easier. Okay, 2 minus 9, can't do it, need to go borrow. 3 tens, give myself a 10 over here. 12 minus 9 is 3. And 3 tens minus no other tens is 3 tens still. So Landon rode 33 miles, and I could write that right here. Okay, now that I figured out how many Landon rode, now I got to do the second part of my equation. It says how many miles did they ride all together? So here's Landon. What do I need to do next? I need to add it to how many Nicholas did. Nicholas did 42. Okay, so the 33 Landon did plus the 42 Nicholas did will give me my total. Landon's 33 miles plus Nicholas's 42 miles. 3 plus 2 is 5. 30 plus 40 is 70. So all together, they rode 75 miles. Okay? That's when it's really important, you guys, to pay attention to what it's actually asking. Because I know a lot of you, if you would have read that first sentence, this part, you would have been like, oh, I just need to take 42 minus 9 and find the answer. And you would have, a lot of you probably wrote 33. But that's not what it was asking. It wasn't asking how many Landon rode. It was asking how many did they ride all together. So really pay attention to the questions when you're doing your Google form. All right, so by the end of this lesson, hopefully you can solve some word problems that require 2 steps. Make sure you let me know if there are some really tricky ones on there for you or things that you didn't understand from this video. A couple of you have sent me messages like, hey, I didn't get this one, and that helps me build my lessons for the next time, okay? So thanks for doing that. You guys are awesome. Don't forget to click or submit the Google form. You only have one this week. This is your only Google form you have to fill out this week. Go ahead and click Mark as Done in the right-hand corner so that I can see you turned it in. And have a good rest of your day. Okay, miss you guys. See ya.